Welcome to Model Horse Tack School. My name is Carrie, and today we're going to do the Pony Express saddle. Okay, now this pattern is available in my book, Pony Express Saddle from Model Horse Arena. I recommend you get it because it also tells you about the history of the Pony Express. It was not US mail, it was like FedEx or UPS. And you could pay the US Post Office a surcharge to have it on the Pony Express. But the Pony Express itself was a private company. And just interesting history about it. You can barely see in this picture, but this is your mochila. It goes over a tree, all right? And so if you've never seen, here's a finished one of what we're going to make. So there's your tree. And then what they would do is this would stay, every horse would have their own saddle tree with rigging and bridle, and then they swapped this. So they would just toss it on like that, throw a leg over, and they'd be gone. So the male would just always stay in this. All right, so there's what the finished project looks like. As for the pattern itself, it's in the back of the book. It's not a very big book. So you need your latigo straps. It's easier, and your rigging straps, right? All of this is on, this can be just 2-3 ounce or less if you can do it. Now, if you want to do the leather cinch and you don't want it, so, you know, something basically just something like that. If you want to do the leather cinch instead of a string girth, so here's some string girths. If you'd rather do that, pieces there. So basically, I say skiver, but if your 2-3 ounce is thin enough, you could use your 2-3. That's what I'm going to use because it's thin enough. And then and my skiver is way too thin. It doesn't suit. So you might want to, you know, do something different. You could do the same skiver or suede here. So like that could be suede or it could be skiver. I'm doing mine in skiver because I'm doing a natural look one. So that's what I'm going to do. And then, you know, this is for your padlocks. We'll get to those. We may or I didn't do them on this one. So you can make them out of metal or you could make them out of cardboard and dip them in paint. That's basically what it is. All of this has to go on the right side of the 2-3 ounce tooling leather. Now you don't have to tool the pattern. I'm going to go ahead and tool mine, but you have to make sure you get your sewing pieces in. So these dots that are really important for sewing the two sides together. Okay, we don't know actually what the Pony Express saddles look like and how they wouldn't be very elaborate. They were cheap, they were lightweight, they had to, you know, be universal too to fit any horse, right? So they probably weren't tooled. We don't know because from what I've researched, none of the original ones survived. It was like as soon as the Pony Express shut down, you know, they were gotten rid of. And nobody ever kept one. So they know it because of, you know, documentation and stuff, but none of them in the museums are actually original. They're all replicas. Okay. So you could tool or not tool. This is then you have your saddle blanket. It looks something like this. It's not very big because it have to be lightweight. There was a weight limit to what the equipment could be, and then also with the rider. This is going to be skiver for your pommel, your swell, your horn, and your horn cover. You could probably use like facing or something else for this seat cover because it's not really going to be seen. But I do skiver because I have skiver, okay? And then you've got your 2-3 ounce. I would put this on the right side so that you get your score lines in place. If you can just use a ruler and go ahead and score it afterwards, then you could put it on the other side, okay? This can be skiver or suede. And then of course aluminum can. Okay, your mess looks like this. And I'm going to talk about scoring. because scoring is important. You don't want to go all the way through when you score. So there's certain pieces here that need to... All right. This one is the tree. See, I put it on the right side. I could put it on either one. It's fine. But you have to make sure that you only go about halfway through. So when I'm done, it looks like that, and it bends really easily. But see, it's not all the way through. It's about halfway. It takes a little practice. So that's how you score. Now on your let's do this one. On your pouches, so this is a pouch, this is actually the bottom. You need to cut one of these out quick. So I always cut what I can with scissors, and then I'll come back with a knife. Okay, so like I can do that and that. I can do that, and I can do, try not to tip snip unless I'm coming to an end, like that. Okay, so this is one pouch, and I have, it's on the right side. Okay, so what you do, it just makes it easier. See, only gonna do a little score, right? I'm not, in fact, still need to score that little piece there. So I'm scoring it, going about halfway through. And if you're wondering how this works, is that I should be putting this on. Oh, it's gonna kill my blade. That's all right. I use glue to keep my pattern in place. It's just a stick glue like this. Could be any of the stick glues except for a sticky note, because it doesn't stick. And it doesn't stay on very well, so it'll fall off. So once I get all these score lines done, I have to get a new blade after trying to... All right, so now I've got... I can actually cut that off. I don't really need it. So we get this all over, and it becomes your pouch. See? And that way, because you can't, it's too small to sew, right? You would sew, but it's a nice squarish. Okay, for this piece here, which is your pommel cover, I have 2 lines. Now I cut the outside, make it a rectangle. There are times when I have just like the perfect suede skiver combination or whatever to do my tree, and so I'm able to just match edges, you know, all the way along. And that's why I keep this line here, because sometimes I use it, but it has to be exactly the right skiver for that to work. And so that's really for me. So don't cut on that line. Cut yourself a perfect rectangle. Okay, for the seat aluminum and the seat in general, there's a couple of tricks. First of all, make a hole with a punch or something. You know, I just use my needle on a stick. Started that there, and now I can get my scissor tips in there. All right, the other thing is, on the aluminum, go outside of the line, so it's going to be a little bit bigger, and on the skiver and the 2/3 ounce, you cut inside the line so the hole's a little bit smaller. Okay, so I cut out all the pieces, and I soaked off the paper on the front so that I could, you know, get it off and then wipe off as much of that glue as possible. And then you know, I always do 2 at a time when I do these. So this is one that I tooled. Like I said, you don't have to tool because they don't know. They have absolutely no idea if there was tooling or no tooling because nothing survived. And then I have the not tooled version, so the 2 different ones. Now because it's naked like this is this is natural, and got all the holes punched in. That's really important. But because it's natural and I really want it to look antique, my next step would be to tone it. And so I have this highlighter color stain, coffee brown, and this one is toned, and you can see it's just a little bit of an antiquing on it, so it's not this brand new color here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do some I'm going to do that on all the pieces that are going to show. Well, I'll do it on all the pieces because, you know, it should be on all the pieces, and give it that more of an antiqued look to it. And then I'm also going to go ahead and use my brown for edge coating. So I'll edge coat and I'll dye it, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I finished the toning and the edge coat. And this is, you know, tooled versus not tooled. So the next step, I would go ahead and take out all the pieces I think that need to be skived. So fenders, I mean, these will be adjustable, so I will need to skive this for a buckle, and then I would thin this out on both of them, you know, maybe from there, not too much because this has to, it folds over into the tree there, so I want to keep it thick for about as long as I would ever have my fenders, but I would definitely thin out where it goes into the buckle. So that's those. If you do the leather girth, you're going to want to skive where the ring goes, the buckle tongue ring or whatever, on both sides. And then the keepers, I would skive those relatively thin so that you don't have a huge buildup when you put those together. I plan to put a buckle on one end and bring it around. This is a fender keeper, so it'll go around that way. So I'll go ahead and skive both sides of the fender keeper so that the buckle will work properly. In the pattern that you have, these are cut in half. I just grabbed my just a pattern, basically my prototype pattern, and I hadn't cut those in half yet, so that's really what these are. They're full, but I'll just cut them in half when it's time to do the work. But I would skive these because they're going to be going around the ring, right? You're going to want to get rid of a lot of your bulk on the back here, because this will end up being 3 layers. It'll be this piece, aluminum, and then a piece of suede or skiver to hold the whole tree. This is the seat, hold that together. So I'll definitely skive around the back of that. On these trees, I always like to skive the edge. So I'll skive around the edge so it lays a little flatter. Not in here, but around the edge. I should have worn gloves when I did the tinting. And then the rest of your tree pieces, and these are all going to, they'll be like layers. Well, I don't want it to be that thick there, so I'm going to go ahead and skive along the edge of both of these pieces. I want the bulk to be in the middle because I'm trying to bulk that part up. But the edges along here and the edges along here, I'm going to want to skive those down. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and skive those pieces, and then we'll be ready for assembly. Okay, another piece you might need to skive is your billets. And I just happened to have found some really good thin leather for the billet, so I'm not going to have to do that. But do check and make sure that yours is going to be thin enough that it's going to fold over. And if not, go ahead and skive that entire piece.